The streets of the bustling neighborhood were alive with activity. Miguel Santos stood outside his small import-export shop, chatting with customers and stacking a few boxes by the entrance. The shop was his pride, built from years of hard work since he arrived in the city. He had made a life here, earning the respect and friendship of the diverse community around him. Officer Jason Miller patrolled the area, his presence always carrying an air of authority that often teetered on intimidation. Known for his aggressive approach, he walked with a swagger that suggested he saw himself as the ultimate enforcer of the law. Tonight, he zeroed in on Miguel, eyes narrowing as he approached the shop owner with a purposeful stride. "Evening," Miller said, hands on his belt. "Everything in order here?" Miguel looked up and nodded politely. "Yes, officer. Just finishing up for the night." Miller smirked, his eyes scanning the shop as if looking for a reason to question its legitimacy. "Funny little place you got here. Import-export, huh? What exactly are you bringing in? Something I should know about." Miguel remained calm. "Just local goods and some specialty items from the Philippines. Everything is legal, of course." Miller let out a small chuckle. "Yeah? And you got all your paperwork in order? You know, sometimes people from your side of the world cut corners." The words stung, but Miguel chose to respond with dignity. "I assure you, officer, everything is legitimate." "You sure about that?" Miller leaned in slightly, his tone dripping with condescension. "Your English is pretty good. Did you memorize some phrases so you could run this place?" A few passersby paused, sensing the tension. Miguel's grip on the box in his hands tightened. "I've worked hard to build this business, just like anyone else. I respect the law, and I expect to be treated fairly." Miller scoffed. "Relax, I'm just messing with you. No need to get all sensitive." His smirk widened as he noticed the crowd forming. "See, that's the problem. You people come here, act like you belong, and the moment someone asks questions, you cry discrimination." Miguel's face remained composed, but inside, a fire burned. He had dealt with ignorance before, but this was outright humiliation. Across the street, Ethan Ramirez had been watching the interaction unfold. His instincts told him to start recording, and as soon as Miller's tone shifted, he pulled out his phone and captured everything. He knew Sophia Lee, the community organizer, would want to see this. Miller continued, clearly enjoying himself. "I could check your store right now. Find something out of place, maybe shut it down for a bit." Miguel exhaled slowly. "I have nothing to hide, officer, but if you're going to search my store, I'd like to see a warrant." Miller's amusement faded. He squared his shoulders, ready to push further, but the murmuring crowd and the steady gaze of Miguel made him hesitate. "Fine. Have it your way," he muttered, stepping back. "Just keep in mind who's in charge around here." Miguel didn't respond. He watched as Miller walked away, but the humiliation lingered. The crowd slowly dispersed, but Ethan knew this moment couldn't just be ignored. That night, Ethan met with Sophia Lee, showing her the footage. She watched with clenched fists, shaking her head in frustration. "This has to go public," she said. "People need to see how officers like Miller abuse their power." Ethan uploaded the video to social media with a simple but powerful caption. "This is what happens when you're an immigrant just trying to make a living. Enough is enough." Within hours, the video spread like wildfire. Comments poured in, some expressing outrage, others sharing their own experiences of discrimination. Community leaders, journalists, and activists took notice. By morning, the mayor's office had been flooded with calls demanding an investigation. News outlets picked up the story, playing the video on repeat. Public pressure mounted, and the police department was forced to respond. Detective Laura Benson was assigned to the case. She had seen the video and was already familiar with complaints about Miller's behavior. It didn't take long for her to uncover a pattern. Numerous reports of intimidation and discrimination, most of which had been buried under procedural excuses. Benson met with Miguel at his shop. "Mr. Santos, I want you to know that we're taking this seriously," she said. "I need you to give a full statement. The more details, the better." Miguel hesitated at first, not wanting trouble, but the overwhelming support from the community had given him confidence. "I'll do it," he said, "not just for me, but for others who've been treated this way." With Miguel's statement, along with the damning video evidence, Miller was placed on immediate suspension. Further investigations revealed internal complaints from fellow officers who had grown uncomfortable with his behavior, but had never spoken out. The case against him built quickly, and within weeks, he was dismissed from the force. The incident led to broader discussions about bias in policing. The city implemented new policies, including mandatory diversity training and the establishment of a civilian oversight committee to review complaints against law enforcement. The community center, where Sofia often organized advocacy meetings, became a hub for conversations about justice and accountability. As for Miguel, his store flourished. More people came in, not just to shop, but to show solidarity. "You stood up for yourself and for all of us," one customer told him. "We won't forget that." Sofia and Ethan continued their work, empowered by the impact of the video. "This is why we do what we do," Sofia said, "because one voice, one video can make all the difference." Miguel smiled, grateful for the support. He had come to this country to build a future, and despite the obstacles, he knew he belonged. His dignity had been tested, but in the end, justice had prevailed. The city, the community, and even the law had taken a step forward, all because they refused to stay silent.